Have you ever wondered if an ancient text could hold a map to the cosmos? Today, we're diving into a fascinating argument that connects a verse from the Qur'an with a cutting-edge image from a space telescope. And the connection? Well, it might be a lot more direct and physical than you'd think.
Okay, so let's get right into it. On one side, we have a verse from the Qur'an, from Surah Al-Mulk. It talks about adorning the nearest heaven with lamps, which are also made into Rujūm. On the other side, a map from NASA's Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope. It's basically charting these incredibly high-energy things called blazars. And at first glance, they look like they belong in completely different universes.
So what in the world is the connection here? Well, the source material we're exploring today makes a pretty bold claim, that there's a direct physical link. And it all comes down to a completely different way of understanding one single, critical Arabic word.
To really get to the bottom of this, we have to do a little bit of linguistic detective work. We need to go back to the original text and look at how the verse actually functions.
That key word is Rujūm. Now, for centuries, the standard translation has been something like missiles or projectiles, things that are thrown, and that's totally understandable. It frames the verse as a kind of symbolic cosmic battle.
But here is where our source material flips the script. It says, hey, maybe we're focusing on the wrong thing. Instead of looking at the action, the throwing, what if we look at the result, the final state that gets created by that action, a state called Rajīm?
And this table just breaks it down perfectly. You have Rajm, which is the basic action, right? To strike, to cast out. Then you have Rujūm, the word from our verse, which is the enforcement of that action. But then there's Rajīm, and that's the end state. It's the condition of being completely expelled, rejected at a boundary, basically sealed out. So let that sink in for a second. The crucial point here is that Rajīm isn't the thing being thrown. It's the condition of being sealed out. The system isn't just about attacking intruders, it's about creating a fundamental boundary that they just can't cross. That changes everything.
Okay, so that's the linguistic argument. But does this idea of a sealed boundary actually show up in, the real world, in physics?
Oh, you bet it does. It's everywhere. Think about how fusion reactors use magnetic fields to confine plasma, literally sealing it in. Or how a planet's magnetosphere creates a shield that deflects and expels solar wind. It's the same principle behind cosmic ray shielding. And even in theoretical physics with things like black hole information firewalls, it's all about boundary enforcement. And this quote from the source material just hits the nail on the head. The most powerful boundaries in the universe don't just sit there and take hits. No way. They actively filter, they reject, and they expel things to maintain their own structure. This is the physics of what it means to be sealed out.
All right, so we've got a new way to read the word, and we've got a parallel concept in modern physics. Now let's bring it all back to that amazing map of the cosmos we started with.
So looking at this again, but with our new understanding, what if it's not a coincidence? The argument is that what we're actually seeing here is a diagram of that exact mechanism, a cosmic boundary seal in action. Let's actually read this map as a system. That bright band in the middle, that's our Milky Way, a structured, ordered field. The sparse, darker regions outside, that's a different, unstructured domain. Now those little green dots, the blazars, those are seen as intrusions, noise, trying to punch through the boundary. And their high-energy emissions, those are the Rujūm in action, the physical ejection events that enforce the seal.
So, according to this analysis, you're not just looking at a pretty picture of the sky. You are looking at a snapshot of a cosmic boundary filter at work. A physical system, just as described in the Qur'an, that's actively sealing and protecting our local, ordered heaven from outside intrusion.
This idea really takes us to a pretty profound place. It suggests we shift our thinking from seeing the verse as poetry or a metaphor to seeing it as a literal description of physics, almost like source code for a real system.
So the source lays it out as a clear, three-part system. You have the Najm, the lamps. Those are the stars, the galaxies, the energy sources. You have the Rujūm, the enforcement action, like those gamma ray emissions. And all of that produces Rajīm, the final state, the seal itself, a protected, ordered domain.
And that's really the bottom line of this entire analysis. The argument is that the verse isn't just telling a story. It's actually describing the architecture of our cosmic neighborhood. It's a model of structural physics explaining how order is preserved right at the edge of our local cosmos.
So after connecting ancient language, modern physics, and this incredible cosmic map, the whole line of reasoning ends with one final, pretty challenging thought.
The source material we've been exploring concludes with this provocative question.
It basically frames this whole discovery as science finally visualizing a physical model that was described 1400 years ago. Whether you see this connection as a mind-blowing coincidence or maybe a sign of something deeper, it definitely makes you look at both the universe and the texts that try to describe it in a whole new light.